This is why I'm superstitious about me actually watching any Seattle game, because, as I just said, watch the entire first period of the Kraken game. Nothing.
I watched the second game with Dallas too, and just horrible disaster.
See, I didn't force them to lose that game, but immediately after turning it off because we were starting to record and prepping for that. The second period, they've scored three goals in the last 3 minutes.
And Dallas is a good team.
Yeah. I mean,
they're stars, really.
Oh, that's where you're going.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there's Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram at namely90s with a 90s. You can also find this show on youtube.com/@namely90s. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, and get signed up for one of those support levels. Well. Another deep dive.
Oh, I thought you were going to say another mass shooting.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they talk about evergreen content, and you want to talk about stuff that doesn't age. We can just talk about gun violence, because it doesn't matter what we talk about. There will have been a mass shooting in the week that we are recording this podcast.
That's fair. Sad, but fair.
This episode is entitled Thoughts and Prayers. Anyway.
It almost is. What's new with you? It has been a few days since we recorded last.
Yeah. Working a lot. Too much. Whoops. A little bit of a birthday celebration for my wife last week, which was fun. Oh. And then we are going to be going off to the beautiful state of Hawaii at some point soon, which is going to be cool.
Nice. I've seen more people posting pics from, I think, Kauai lately. I'm like, why would you go to Kauai when you're under the age of 12,
Yeah, I don't know all the demographics 25. And stuff. We're going to Maui the first time and see how that is. Mm-hmm. Never been before, so that'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah.
Really, other than that, not a lot on the horizon other than the whole switching jobs and moving thing.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a good shift, a little good change for your scenery. Moving back to somewhere and leaving wherever you currently are.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like the Seattle area.
I do too, but I also since we grew up in the suburbs, think of it more fondly as a place to visit, not as a place to live.
Really?
Well, how often were we in Seattle?
Well, yeah, but I like the area. See, I'm drawn back to the place where I grew up, whereas you're less so. Interestingly.
I wouldn't say I'm not. I'm just saying it's not what we grew up in anymore.
However, in Seattle, the likelihood of you moving near us is much higher than it is in Spokane, even if those odds are low. What? Seattle's still much higher.
Is it?
Why would you move to Spokane? Spokane sucks.
Well, not Spokane, but Eastern Washington.
Yeah, but that's all that stuff's 3 hours from Spokane.
True.
It's actually almost equidistant to Seattle, if not closer to Seattle area.
Oh, is it still only 3 hours to Seattle from there?
Pretty much.
I don't know my home state that well, apparently.
Yeah. A little geography lesson there, but no, it'll be...
It's an hour flight.
If nothing else, at least if you come back for the holidays, we'll see you. So that's cool.
Fair. Yes.
And we can go to a Kraken game or whatever else we so choose to go to.
Yes. Next season after they've won the Stanley Cup and then suck again.
Yeah, exactly. Once they 40 it.
40-point flip this season, 40-point flip next season, just in the opposite direction.
That's like the weather here. It was 80 here, and now it was 47 today.
Jeez. We're at a comfortable mid 60s for some reason right now. I think it rained like a day or two ago. So yeah, there's entire towns. I don't know why I laughed at that. There's entire towns in California that are underwater in the valley because their levees broke.
Lovely.
Levees broke. Levees.
Yeah. So what did you do this week?
Since we talked last, I've had baseball practice or softball practice.
Remembering that this episode is going to be released on the 15th, what did you do this week?
I celebrated is this on the 15th? I celebrated my birthday. Yes. It's what is it called? The most magical place on earth?
Yeah. I think that's, why don't I know what that is?
Is that Disney World? One of them's
the most magical place on earth is Disney World.
Okay, so I went to the less magical place on earth. They really shot themselves in the foot with that descriptor.
Yeah, because then it implies that the other places are not so magical.
Yeah, right? or less magical somehow. But no, I finally went to freaking Star Wars Land. That's
the place where you're least likely to be stabbed. That's what Disneyland is.
Yes. The least likeliest place to be stabbed in California, unless you're
least likely.
Most least likely, unless you're one of the 80s nightclubs or early 90s nightclubs for teens. I finally got to go to Star Wars Land after almost doing it. Because Disneyland shut down the week before I originally was going to go. And that was with a previous girlfriend, this time going with current girlfriend, or at least girl that I'm dating and haven't put labels on it yet, but we've had a talk, but I guess not the entire talk.
It's not FBO.
I don't know what it is.
It's not MO. Wait.
No, it's, all I know is it's going well so far. And, I assume at this point I've now realized that we have to have the rest of the.
It's only MySpace official, so it's okay.
Yes. So I'm glad people I know listen to this podcast.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Your host.
No, because now I have the time from when we recorded this.
I think the word clingy might be used. No, just kidding.
Me?
Oh gosh! Wow.
Yeah. Pot kettle black.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I'm sure I'll have that all ironed out in actual stories from Disneyland next week, which we won't have a chit chat period for because next week is our 3-year anniversary episode.
Yay!
So it's probably too late for you to submit something, but send something to namely90s@gmail.com. That's with the 90s, and maybe, just maybe, it might end up in the episode as long as you send it to us before it releases. But yeah, if you're hearing this that Monday, send it in, and thank you to the 2 people that have done it so far, or at least the 2 people from one podcast that's done it so far, and the other 2 people that are currently working on it and sending it to us at some point. So yeah, I have to do some more fishing before that episode airs. I also have to clip the entire episode that I have not done yet. So
great job.
Well, to be fair,
it's a lot of work.
Well, but also I have 2 weeks to do this, and because we're recording early, 4-1. That's the score for the Kraken game.
Wow.
Yeah, Isn't that exciting?
I wish I was watching this.
I know.
Why are we recording right now?
Well, you only could record on one day this week.
It's my fault. It is my fault, really, actually.
I'm expecting me to record on my birthday. Yes, probably your fault.
Well, no, anyway. I don't even know if I could. But anyway. Yeah. Well, I think we've done.
We dodged the bullet then. We haven't, but close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Okay. Well, what deep dive topic would you like to present today?
I thought it was your turn.
Oh, no.
I actually did that to him earlier when we started this recording session.
Me scrambling. Huh, what?
His eyes went very wide.
And that's been another edition of Namely 90.
So there's I think a movie coming out called Still, the Michael J. Fox story, I think that's called.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be a good time to look back at 80s and 90s star Michael J. Fox, who was kind of one of my idols growing up, one of my favorite actors. I really enjoyed the Back to the Future series. He was in Teen Wolf, which I guess I watched at some point. Doc Hollywood, for some reason a child was allowed to watch that movie. And, Back to the Future. It's all about that DMC DeLorean, man. Anyway, let's deep dive into Michael J. Fox. He was born Michael Andrew Fox in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He's Canadian. On the 9th of June, 1961. His parents are William and Phyllis, and he lived in various cities and towns across Canada due to his father being in their version of the military.
Their version of the military. It is the military.
Well, they're just so polite over there.
Yeah, they have attack mooses with like missiles on them.
The antlers turn into missile launchers.
Yeah.
I just assumed they were Mountie pluses. And they eventually moved to Burnaby, which is a city outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, when his father retired in 1971. His father died of a heart attack in early 1990, and his mom died recently in September of 2022. Fox attended Burnaby Central Secondary School and now has a theater named for him at the Burnaby South Secondary School. I didn't actually bother to look up this city beforehand. Have you heard of this town?
Burnaby?
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a hockey arena there.
Is that where the Canucks play or no?
No, they play in downtown
Couve.
The downtown Couve.
I lost 20 Canadian dollars there once. Or was it American dollars?
Let's see here. There's a stadium, I swear. What is it about Burnaby that I remember?
They hosted the Olympics.
I think that's where
known for making maple syrup.
I think there's a arena there. Possibly that's where the Vancouver Giants played or play.
Are they in the
WHL? I think.
Yeah. All right. At age 15, Fox starred in the Canadian television series Leo and Me, which is produced by Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And in 1979, at age 18, he moved to Los Angeles, California to further his acting career, where he was discovered by producer Ronald Shedlow and made his American television debut in this television film series Letters from Frank under the name Michael Fox. But then when he signed up for SAG, is it SAG-AFTRA or is it just SAG? Screen Actors Guild.
I thought it was SAG.
Yeah, I thought they have a new hyphen now.
Oh, I think you're right.
Which requires unique registration names to avoid credit ambiguities, which is weird because they allow it now. He discovered...
Yeah. They're like,
right?
Yeah, it's the whole thing seems stupid. They're like, so people don't get paid wrong. It's like, what if they had a unique ID number, jackass?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard.
Because they, I know they still do it in England. For like British actors, BAFTA actors, they have like they still have to have unique names. But yeah, apparently that was a thing here too, because there was a veteran character actor named Michael Fox already registered with a name. So he didn't like the sound of Michael A. Fox because, for those of you youngins, Fox was a term for a hot guy.
Or lady.
Or lady.
Attractive person.
Yes. Anywhere in between. Because it sounds like Michael A. Fox sounds like he's saying he's a fox. He also disliked the name Andrew.
Well,
sorry.
I can understand that.
No, he disliked the sound of Andrew or Andy for the name. So he decided to honor actor Michael J. Pollard by doing the middle initial J. Michael J. Pollard, known for, Hannibal Brooks.
No.
American Gothic. Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde from 1967.
My favorite movie.
Yes. Shortly after being in the movies Midnight Madness and Class of 1984, he began playing young Republican Alex P. Keaton in the TV series Family Ties on NBC for 7 seasons from 1982 to 89. No comment on that.
That he played a Republican?
Yes. A young Republican. Okay. You received the role. I thought you had a joke lined up.
There probably was one, yeah.
So the role, he got the role only after Matthew Broderick passed. It was unavailable.
I have my joke now.
Okay.
When they said they were going to shoot another episode, he literally thought he pulled out a gun and he shot. People had a raging hard on for Matthew Broderick in the 80s. I do not like that guy. I don't know what it is. He has a very unlikable quality to me.
Is it his face?
Possibly. I hate your face. No, I don't know. He just, to me, just has, I know a lot of people think he's very likable. I think he has a very unlikable quality. Personally.
Very charming. Ferris Bueller. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
No, War Games. Was Jenny Lewis in that? No. Anyway, Family Ties was pitched to network as hip parents with square kids. That's why he was like the head of the Republicans
unique.
Club, right? Well, it was back then, sitcoms being what they were.
It doesn't matter what sitcom it is, even if it's the most original idea, it sounds
like it's been done before.
Dated. It sounds like cheesy because it is.
What if it's a modern family where like you have one family and then the older generation and then maybe like a gay uncle and his husband who adopt a child from, I don't know.
Yeah, all of these sound like awful shows if you repitch them.
Yes.
And like 90% of them don't get made and they all start with that. It's like,
what if they're a black family that owns a wine bar called, what was it called again?
I don't know.
Is
this a real thing?
Yeah, it's a currently running show. It was like, it's not like
college roommates inherit a floss factory. You're like, what? No, this is stupid.
No, I mean, it just kind of sounds, the name's kind of racist. But I don't remember what it's called. And I don't want to make up my own racist
on the Fox network.
I think it's NBC. NBC wine comedy.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
what is it
Grand
called?
Crew.
Grand Crew, yes.
Except Crew spelled CREW. See, that's better than whatever.
Well, how else would it be spelled?
Well, Grand Crew is CRU because it's French.
It seems like a missed opportunity to use the OUX.
Possibly in another part of the country, but I think the main Grand Crew is CRU.
That sounds like it's going to be canceled relatively soon, based on what you're describing.
I think they're in their 2nd season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. At its peak, the audience for Family somehow the hip parent square kids thing was originally going to be focused on the parents being hip and having wet blanket children, but the wet blanket children did well with the audience, and after episode 4 the stories were focused on them.
Yeah, it's the same people who like young Sheldon.
That's, oh god, you're right. That is young Sheldon, isn't it? At its peak, the audience for Family Ties drew 1/3 of America's households every week. Michael J. Fox won 3 Emmy Awards in 86, 87, and 88 for Family Ties, and he won a Golden Globe in 89. Also on set, he met his wife, Tracy Pollan, where she played the role of his girlfriend, Ellen, on Family Ties. They were married in 88 in Vermont. And shortly after his marriage, he moved back to Vancouver with her. They have 4 children. Sam, born in 89, twin daughters, Queen, and Schuler, 95, and daughter Esme in 2001.
Knock it off with the names, man. I know it's your prerogative, but goodness.
Isn't that prior to Twilight?
Yeah, it's just the names are obnoxious.
Yeah, fair. As we all know, in 85, Fox was cast to replace Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly in Back to the Future. Originally, they weren't going to give him time off from Family Ties to do it because the mom, played by Meredith Baxter, was on maternity leave at the time, and they needed to lean on his character more to keep the show going. And eventually he made a deal where he would work full time at the TV show and shoot Back to the Future at night.
Burn the candle at both ends.
He really did, because Stoltz was cast, but he was not right for the role of Marty McFly. So Robert Zemeckis, one of the directors and writers of the movie, replaced Stoltz with Fox. And so very, very, very fun. Great movie. Highly recommended. Andrew probably hates it.
No, I don't hate it.
It's unrealistic because they put a Porsche engine into a DeLorean to make it actually be able to hit 88 miles an hour.
88's not that. I think, okay, it can go 88 with a regular engine.
Can it?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe not like as quick though.
Maybe. Off the line. It's built out of stainless steel, so it's probably pretty heavy.
Yeah. I do remember one of the director's commentaries being like, we couldn't get it to hit 88 miles an hour, so we put a Porsche engine into
it might have been a crappy one. I don't know. Who knows?
That's true. They might have been 85.
The car was built for its look, I guess, than anything else.
I think it was still being sold in 85. Ugh. Like that was the last year. It was like 83 to 85.
I mean, honestly, if it weren't for this movie, it would be remembered as a terrible vehicle, because it kind of is.
Yeah. But it's cool with the gold wing doors. And if only it could fly. Box office worldwide, 381 million. It had 2 successful sequels, part 2 and part 3, in 89 and 90, and they were produced at the same time but released separately. And yeah, Back to the Future Part 2 actually has a trailer for Back to the Future Part 3 in the actual film at the end. Yeah. It's like how one of the MCU movies was like, here's a trailer for what's coming up next. Avengers or something. I don't know. Anyway, in 91, he starred as Doc Hollywood, which was a romantic comedy about a talented medical doctor who decides to become a plastic surgeon. He moves from DC to Los Angeles and winds up in a small southern town in Southern California, which is a strange way to describe that. Yeah, let's see. He did Time Out, The Hard Way with James Woods, For the Love or Money, Life with Mikey, Greedy, The American President, and apparently it was even in Mars Attacks, a movie I actually hate.
That's the only movie of this list I've seen, which is sad.
Also, his last major film role was in The Frighteners, which was directed by Peter Jackson, and he also voiced Chance in Homeward Bound 1 and 2. And he was Stuart Little in the 3 Stuart Little series, or the 3 Stuart Little films, as well as Milo, which I think was the main character in Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Never heard of it.
It's Treasure Island, I think, but with sci-fi Atlantis themes.
Okay, well, no time like the present.
Never seen it myself.
Go to Brandon for the Namely 90s Minute.
Welcome back to our mid-episode break, Namely 90s Minute. Every week we look back at a culturally relevant show, movie, or piece of pop culture that probably helps stoke the algorithm. This week, in honor of the documentary Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, we're looking back at Doc Hollywood. Doc Hollywood is a 1991 romantic comedy starring Marty McFly, Michelle from Tommy Boy, the Grandpa from The Lost Boys, Woody from Cheers, Major Winchester from MASH, and Zorro from Zorro the Gay Blade. The story revolves around Teen Wolf finishing his residency in DC and driving out west to interview for a job with a high-ranking plastic surgeon, but he crashes his car into a fence in a small town in South Carolina trying to avoid a cow. Unfortunately, the fence is owned by the town judge, who sentences him to 32 hours of community service because that's how jurisprudence works in movies. The town then attempts to get Alex P. Keaton to replace the current town doctor who is retiring. He starts flirting with the town ambulance driver, who's also a single mother and is being courted by the town's insurance agent, Hank. Stuart Little saves the life of the town doctor who had a heart attack, and that doctor then calls the plastic surgeon in Hollywood to explain why Milo missed his interview. With his car fixed and the town in love with him, he leaves after hooking up with ambulance lady, hoping not to complicate things further. On his way out of town, he pulls over to help deliver a child, and a tired circus driver smashes into his car, so the town buys him a ticket to fly out west. The ambulance driver, not wanting to tie him down to a small town, says she'll marry the insurance guy Hank instead. Mike Flaherty gets hired by the plastic surgeon and after a few weeks grows tired of the superficial Beverly Hills lifestyle. Hank shows up to deliver his car and tell him that they called off the engagement with the ambulance driver, so Homeward Bound returns to the small town to get with her. And that's Doc Hollywood in a Namely 90s Minute. More or less.
And now, back to the show.
Quick correction, I was thinking of Treasure Planet when I said Atlantis is like Treasure Island.
I don't even know what that is, so good job.
It's also an animated film, and I think Disney. Anyway, back to Michael J. Fox. He ended up back on television from 96 to 2002 on Spin City on ABC, which was starring Fox as Mike Flaherty, who serves as the deputy mayor of New York. He won an Emmy Award in 2000 for Spin City and 3 Golden Globes in 98, 99, and 2000, and 2 SAG Awards in 99 and 2000. During the 3rd season of Spin City, which is, I believe, 99, Fox made the announcement to the cast and crew of the show that he had Parkinson's disease. Oh, sorry. That was 98. And during the 4th season in 99, he announced his retirement from the show. He announced that he planned to continue to act, but would make guest appearances on Spin City. He made 3 more appearances on the show during the final season. And then after leaving the show, he was replaced by Charlie Sheen, who...
#winning.
Tiger Blood, who was Charlie Crawford in the show.
It's kind of funny because Charlie Sheen then got replaced by Ashton Kutcher in Two and a Half Men.
True.
For a much less noble reason. Being a lunatic.
Because he was #winning. Fox started displaying symptoms of early onset Parkinson's disease in 1991 while shooting Doc Hollywood.
So how old would he have been at that time?
He was
91 minus 61, so 30.
30. That sucks.
God.
Through his initial symptoms, there were only a twitching little finger and a sore shoulder. He was told that within a few years he would not be able to work. The causes of Parkinson's disease are not well known and may include genetic and environmental factors. Weird anecdotal thing. He is at least one of 4 cast members of that first show he was in, Leo and Me, who developed early onset Parkinson's. According to Fox, this is not enough people to be defined as a cluster, but so it's not been well researched. But he said once in a 2020 interview, I can think of 1,000 possible scenarios. I used to go fishing in a river near paper mills and eat salmon I caught. I've been to a lot of farms. I smoked a lot of pot in high school when the government was poisoning crops. But you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure it out. So after his diagnosis, he started drinking heavily and became depressed, and he eventually sought help and stopped drinking altogether. And he went public in 1998 about his Parkinson's disease, as we just mentioned, and has become a strong advocate for the disease research. His foundation, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, was created to help advance every promising research path to curing Parkinson's disease. And since 2010, he has led a $100 million effort, which is the foundation's landmark observational study to discover the biological markers of Parkinson's disease with the Parkinson's Progression Markers Initiative, or PPMI. No PP joke.
Not when it's something so serious now.
I'm a terrible person. Fox manages the Simpsons. Wow, Simpsons. It's every time I say Fox. Fox manages the symptoms of his Parkinson's disease with the drug carbidopa/levodopa. And he had a thalamotomy in 1998, which Andrew could tell us is a
thalamotomy. Apparently, they take out part of the thalamus, which is part of the brain, by inserting a probe that delivers like a radio frequency to destroy that specific part of the thalamus. And it's used to treat tremors.
That's crazy that you knew that off the top of your head.
I Googled it. But I know what the thalamus is.
Yeah. Should have noticed it was a
thalamotomy, probably is how it's said.
Yes, with the it's the M's throwing me off.
Oops. I dropped my shoe.
Oh. What?
Oh, I dropped my shoe. I was trying to scratch my toe and then my shoe fell off.
In 2004, Fox guest starred on 2 episodes of the comedy drama Scrubs. I remember this because it was like his first big appearance post Spin City. As Dr. Kevin Casey, he was a surgeon with severe obsessive compulsive disorder, and I say it's 2 of the best episodes of the series. Scrubs was created by the same guy that created Spin City, Bill Lawrence.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why the comedy is exactly the same between Spin City, Scrubs, and Cougar Town. It's all the same people. It's all the same jokes. It's pretty much the same thing, except for the setting. In 2006, he appeared in 4 episodes of Boston Legal. Actually, I want to take a side note on the Scrubs episode. If you can watch those episodes with Michael J. Fox, I highly recommend it. There's this. Did you watch Scrubs?
I did, but it's been so long, and I don't remember if I saw those episodes.
I remember this episode, or like I think it was the first one he was in. The first one he was in, like he came off as kind of a dick to JD, but then because he was mentoring everyone but JD, and JD's like, I need a new mentor because JD's always insecure and thinks Dr. Cox hates him, and like JD finds Dr. Casey just like scrubbing his hands like for an hour after his last surgery because he can't get them clean, and he delivers a fantastic performance in that. And then in the next episode is the roof toilet episode where we get the line, there's a toilet on the roof. And I think Knife Wrench appears in that too, but he has to conquer his OCD by using the roof toilet. And then or maybe it wasn't JD, it was Sarah Chalk's character Elliot, Dr. Reed, the blonde woman. She was looking for a mentor because JD she's also, why is every character in Scrubs just insecure? Anyway,
well, it says something about the medical profession probably as a whole, or students, or any young doctors anyway.
Fair. He appeared in 4 episodes of Boston Legal and got an Emmy Award for Best Guest Appearance. that turned into a recurring role in season 3. He was in Rescue Me in 2009. The Good Wife as a recurring role. He was also in Curb Your Enthusiasm as himself in the 8th season, where Larry David thinks Michael J. Fox is using his condition as a manipulative tool.
Yeah, as people with disabilities do, right?
Yeah,
no, that's not a thing.
But great
satire.
Great way to satire that or lampoon that. He briefly returned in 2017 in the same show because they brought it back. And then his last big show was the Michael J. Fox Show on NBC from 2012, where it had a 22 episode commitment from the network. Made it to 15 episodes. I watched every episode. It was not a great show.
No.
And it was Spin City if it was set in a show. It was like 30 Rock. It kind of like overlapped with 30 Rock, which didn't make sense because 30 Rock was on at the time. But it was more traditional comedy instead of whatever the hell 30 Rock was. And it wasn't the right time for it.
Yeah.
In 2018, he was cast in season 2 of Designated Survivor. Do you remember Designated Survivor?
Yeah, it's with Kiefer Sutherland, where like everyone gets blown up, and so Kiefer Sutherland is like the secretary of the interior or something, and it just becomes president all of a sudden. Yep.
Which I watched the first season of. It was fantastic, and then never came back to the series.
I think it got bad.
It lasted for a second season and then went to Netflix for a third. In 2020, Fox officially retired from acting due to his increasing unreliability of his speech. Maybe I should retire because I seem to mumble a lot. And that was a bad joke. But in his most recent memoir, No Time Like the Future, An Optimist Considers Morality, he explains that not being able to speak reliably is a game breaker for an actor, and that he was experiencing memory loss. He wrote, "There's a time for everything, and my time of putting in a 12-hour workday and memorizing 7 pages of dialogue is best behind me. I enter a second retirement that could change, but because everything changes, but if this is the end of my acting career, so be it." Yeah, because I think he technically retired after Spin City, just like not full time.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, in just some fun facts, in 2010 he received an honorary doctorate in medicine from the Karolinska Institute for his contributions to research in Parkinson's disease. And he also received an honorary doctorate of laws from the University of British Columbia that same year. In 2012, he received an honorary degree of Doctors of Law from the Justice Institute of British Columbia to recognize his accomplishments as a performer, as well as his commitment to raising research funding and awareness of Parkinson's disease.
Right.
Mm-hmm. In 2016, the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research created a raffle to raise awareness for Parkinson's disease and raised over $6.5 million with the help of Nike. I believe this was the one where they made the Back to the Future 2 self-lacing.
The
Nikes,
self-lacing. Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. And in 2022 at the Governor's Awards, Fox was awarded the Jean Hirschholt Humanitarian Award for his efforts. Or is that Gene? In fighting Parkinson's, having raised over $1 billion for research. The award was presented by Woody Harrelson. And finally, in a 2023 interview with Jane Pauley on CBS Sunday Morning, Fox said, "I'm not going to lie, it's getting harder. Every day it's tougher." He said he had spinal surgery for a benign tumor and has broken bones in several falls. But it's just, while doing research for this, there are a couple articles that says he doesn't think he's going to make it to 60. Or is he currently 60? He's not going to make it to 80.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't, but
that's a good point. It might have been 60.
Yeah, I mean, really inspiring when
No,
someone
he's
has
currently 61, so it was 80.
really inspiring when someone has such a disability that can be so, so devastating, but then chooses to make it their life's work to help end it. And obviously still more work to be done, but to raise $1 billion, that's insane.
Yeah. Well, I want to say it was lucky that it was him, because that's not the right wording, but it's fortunate for other Parkinson's people.
Yeah, I mean, he could have stayed in that depression and the drinking, but he decided to, that's a way to deal with things. But he decided to sort of take charge of the situation, even though it didn't necessarily help him directly. He understands that it affects other people, and just that's $1 billion that would not have been going to research if not for him. So that's pretty amazing.
I know I'm not going to word this correctly, but if you look at like Instagram influencers and stuff like that, or YouTubers or whatever, he, as an actor in that era, it was a celebrity, and he was able to use his celebrity clout to raise awareness and funding for this research. And
right, but it took a lot of work. I mean, he didn't
I'm not discounting.
No, I know what you're saying though. Like, he leveraged all of those connections he made.
There it is.
And made it happen, honestly.
That's why you're my translator. Because I could not have put that into words properly. I read the first 3 of his autobiographies. Lucky Man, I don't remember what the third one is, and I don't remember the second one.
Imagine if Eric Stoltz had been
Marty
actually
McFly.
cast.
I know. I don't think we would have got part 2 or part 3, honestly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know who
the hell is Eric Stoltz? That's my question. I don't even know who the hell that is.
He was kind of popular back then. He's just a little more broody.
The poor man's Matthew Broderick.
Yeah. Or the poor man's Michael J. Fox. And that's it for this week's Deep Dive edition of Namely 90s. Remember, you can find new episodes out every Monday. Join us next week for another variety show episode. Actually, no, join us next week for our 3-year anniversary episode. Find us on Instagram at Namely90s with 90s and tell us what you want us to talk about on future Deep Dive episodes. And if you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with a 90s. Finally, you can also contact us through our website, Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Zorro, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, Good Pods, wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and we'll catch you next time.
We have to go back.